Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Dante, and today's date is August 16, 2025, and this is week 2 assignment of FTE 211. And for this video, we are going to be using this 1911 by Thesis. Now, what I'm going to be doing is breaking it down, hitting you guys with an exploded view of all the components. To make it interesting, I have to pick 6 components and explain its role in the cycle of operation. At that point, I'll put the firearm back together. We will manually run it through the cycle of operation, making sure everything's functioning correctly. And then that'll be it. At that point, you can like, subscribe, maybe even comment, and we'll go our separate ways. But until then, let's get it. All right, y'all, so during the intro, I was able to break this down completely and get it set up for the next part of this video. Now, what we're gonna do is use a number generator to pick out 6 random components and go over its role in the cycle of operation. So let's get set up. All right, so now that I got you set up, the wheel ready to go, we're gonna spin and get our first number. All right, and that number is 34, and 34 is the recoil spring plug, and that's gonna be this here. So this is the recoil spring plug, and what this does is it holds your recoil spring in place with inside the sliding guide rod assembly. It ensures you get the proper spring tension and alignment, which allows your slide to cycle smoothly during firing and returning to battery. And that is the recoil spring plug. Next up, all right, and that is number 10. Number 10 is the firing pin spring. That is this here. So this is your firing pin spring.
Okay, so what I was about to say made no sense. And what I was trying to say is the firing pin spring prevents the firing pin from moving forward unintentionally. It makes sure that the firing pin only strikes the primer when the hammer is dropped with significant force. Next.
All right, and that is 31. 31 is sights. 31 is gonna be sights. So this right here are your sights. And sights are used to align your firearm up with your target. Typically on 1911s, you get fixed sights. But this right here is what you call a dovetail sight. So you can replace it with like night sights, fiber optic sights, and stuff like that. So there goes sights. Next up, and that is a number 17. That is the hammer strut pin. Oh shoot. Okay, so I actually don't have it out. It's this pin right in here. This is your hammer, and this is your hammer strut. That is it right there. And what it does is it just holds the hammer strut securely to the hammer, as you see it is doing right now. I mean, that connector allows the strut to transfer energy from the main spring to the hammer during the firing cycle. That is your hammer strut pin. All right, next up. $30. All right, so let's see. 30 is, sorry, I mentioned myself. 30 is the plunger tube. And that's actually, the plunger tube is actually on the frame itself. So that's this here. And this houses this plunger right here. So what it does is it applies pressure to your safety and your slide lock. Make sure they stay in place. Plunger tube. All right, and last is 40. 40 is actually the slide. So there it is right there. And this thing, I mean, it houses all your major components like the barrel, the firing pin, the extractor. This plays a big role in the whole firing and cycling process. I mean, as it's moving backwards from recoil, it's ejecting your spin casing, also cocking the hammer, getting ready for the next round. And as it's moving forward, it's picking up a round from the magazine and chambering it, getting you set up for that next shot. That's the slide. All right, so now we got that part out the way. I'm gonna put this thing back together and we're gonna do the cycle of operation. All right, so after a little bit of trial and error and a brand new t-shirt, I finally got this thing together. Now I was having some issues because I didn't properly seat my hammer strut into my main spring housing. So I was getting no tension on my hammer and it was just falling back. And when I pulled the trigger, nothing was happening. So I did a little research, figured out the problem, took it apart, put it back together, and now we are here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my magazine with my snap caps, insert it, and chamber my first round. Perfect. And while we're doing this, we can actually go ahead and check to make sure our safeties are functioning properly. So I am gonna turn on my thumb safety. Turn on the thumb safety, put pressure on the grip safety, pull the trigger, nothing happening, thumb safety's working. I am going to turn off the thumb safety, take pressure off of the grip safety, pull the trigger, grip safety is functioning correctly. So now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull the trigger, simulating me firing my first round, right? And I'm gonna hold the trigger because we wanna listen for that trigger reset after we chamber the second round. So, firing our round. And now, when I pull back on the chamber, we want to see that spent casing being ejected and a new round being chambered into the chamber. So let's go ahead and see if that works. All right, and then you got a new round in the chamber. Let's listen for that trigger reset, as you can hear right there, and we will fire the next round. Perfect, see if it works again. Ejection, chambered, trigger reset, perfect, fire. Boom. Right there. Uh-oh. I don't know what's going on there. Let's see. All right, so now I got 5 in there. Chamber in the first round. Boom, pulling the trigger. Second round, reset, pulling the trigger. Third round. Fourth round. Fifth round. And there it is. Maybe I just wasn't cycling fast enough, but there you have it. TSIS 1911, disassembled and reassembled. Till next time, peace.